What's up, y'all? This is the Thug Lord Tupac. Be sure to check out Westside Radio.
Welcome to it, y'all. Westside Radio. Julio G. I'm in here. I know it took a little time off. I've been working on some stuff inside the studio, so we're finally back, and I'm going to get right to it. Legendary L.B.C. Crew. My man Techniec is in the house. Thank you for coming, Tech.
Man, it's an honor to be here.
It's great to see you. It's been a minute since I've seen you too, man. How you been, bro?
Yeah, we still here.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the universe is calling for it right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So, patience of God, it's kind of self-explanatory, but it has many layers to it.
Mm-hmm.
We on season 2 right now. So, whoever missed season 1 could go ahead and backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
It's all on all DSPs, and we got a box set coming, but we got a few more seasons before we get to that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, Techniec, I always ask people about the name and the origin of the name. Where did you decide, and how did you come up with saying, okay, I'm going to call myself Techniec as an MC? Because I know you started so young too. That's why I asked you too.
Man, it's interesting. That's a good question. Techniec, it really, that came about around 12, 13 years old. Me and my bro, Pac-10, I was rhyming before I had a name. So it came down to one day we were just trying to figure out names. So we was going through thesauruses and dictionaries and all that. So came across Techniec, and he's like, yeah, that's the one right there.
And then you spell it different. So that's what I think it's a little bit confusing for people because when they spell it, you spell it different. And why did you choose to spell it different?
Well, I mean, it was just a word until I made it a name. So, just the unique aspect of it, I played with the spelling, but TECHNIEC was it looked solid. So I say, we're going to go with that one.
Yeah.
And it stuck, man. I can't escape it.
And you started young, Techniec. That's why
Yes,
I wanted to ask you also, how did you get into the music business so young in your life? And then you succeeded like very fast. I mean, your first time out, you get on the LBC Crew. You guys come out with a monster song on a big movie. I mean, you came out of the gate. I mean, how old were you when that happened?
95. I was 15 years old at that time.
15.
So, I'm also an 80s baby. So I was born in the birth of actual hip hop. You know what I mean? I was born with it. So it's
great era.
I knew nothing else.
The 80s, the 80s, great era.
It was just raw, it was fresh, and it was mandatory to do it, like off the rip. You know what I mean?
Do you remember the first time you said, hey, I wanna write a song?
I don't. It was just that organic. So I'll give you a backstory. It's the world famous VIP Records in Long Beach, right? So my Uncle Kelvin, that's my a good friend of my father. You know, he was kind of like an elder, mentor, real uncle of the community. And they back in the days, they used to have these mixtapes that came out. I believe it was weekly, but it was like Rap Mix Volume 1. And my pops had these big old suitcase tape cases. You know what I mean, with all of these different mixes. And so my thing was, when my pops wasn't around, I was putting the tapes in. I'm talking about like 6, 7, 8 years old. I'm listening to them. So then that's when I started like learning about who all the greatest, MCs to this date. Like we were speaking of like Mellow Man Ace and, Toddy T and Mixmaster Spade, Rodney O and Joe Cooley. I was learning about them guys when I was super small. Wow. So just naturally growing up loving the culture of hip hop, you try it on for size.
Yeah,
it was a form of art.
What you gravitate to? Do you remember like things, certain people, like certain songs that when you were young, like I really love this song, like I love the way this guy raps?
Man, there's so many. I love like Ed OG and the Bulldogs and all of those type of guys. I was intrigued by Special Ed because he was so young. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Dope.
And I am the Magnificent. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like so yeah, all of those joints was really on. It was a lot of East Coast presence, but I think I picked it up when I seen how hard the West was doing it. King T, hearing, DJ Pooh and all of these guys back in the day, Deadly Threat and all of these guys, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, I'm just a straight product of it. Straight up.
One thing I noticed about you, Techniec, from the beginning too, is that I could tell with certain rappers, because I've been doing it so long, like I could tell when rappers are like in it for the money or trying to be famous. And then I could tell those rappers that they really about the art of writing.
Right.
whether they sell 10 million records or 10,
Yeah.
they're still really about their craft and they really care about every little verse and that's what you reminded me of when I first used to listen to you. That's why I paid attention to you. What got you into that side of it? And if I come out, I want to come out this way. What got you into that lyrical side of it?
Well, during this time, this is post like any internet, and now you could just pull out your camera and everybody get it cracking. But we used to have ciphers at school, and at that time it probably was maybe like one or two people who said they rap. So automatically that was a challenge because that's all I was doing in class anyway, was writing rhymes. You know what I'm saying? So it was just raw in that sense. And then, when I realized I didn't have to play sports to get the girls, I could just rap. You know what I mean? And it was really on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, so that's kind of where it came from. And then, again, being so young, when I got introduced to Snoop Dogg through my uncle Big C style, he would always come through, like when they not doing shows or on tour or whatever the case may be. When he came to my house to, kick it with my pops, I was always like, hey man, I rap. You know what I mean? He like, yeah, I'm a youngster, so it's like, yeah, that's what's up. Let me hear something, So then my homeboy Perfect, we was on the north side of Long Beach. I think I had just started high school, and we had to turn in a history report. I hated history. This dude found a genius way to do his history report. He rapped it and brought the tape to class.
Wow.
And I said, damn, y'all allow this? So I'm like, he was spitting. I was like, yo, he killing it too. I don't know who the hell he was talking about. Some old heads, some American history type deal, right? So then afterward, I'm like, hey, bro, what's up? How you do that? He like, man, I got the setup at the house. Hey, it was over from that point. After school, we was heading to Perfect House, right in his garage. We ain't had no track, nothing. We had a sampler and a microphone.
Wow.
So his pops had all of the records stacked up in there. So we'd go through the records, find some cool little breaks, like, yo, sample that, little 4-bar samples, right? So he'd sample it. Put the sampler on, repeat, just let it run. So if we're doing a song where it's 2 or 3 people, everyone has to know their verse. There's no
one take.
No cuts on this.
Yeah.
So we didn't know at the time that we were perfecting our craft with that. You know what I mean? So that was the beginning of starting to get recognized as a rapper, because we had to learn these rhymes.
One take,
and it just became force of habit.
Right.
So we working on 15, 20 songs. We got 3 people on each song. We standing in line like the lunch line and shit, waiting for the one person to finish his verse. Then you got somebody standing close to him because he got to do the hook. You know what I mean? Everything one take. So ironically, that tape made it back to Snoop. When he first saw, he was like, yo, this one, he told me the one that he was on. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like, I'm looking at this dude like, damn, you Snoop Doggy Dogg. You know what I mean? And you recognize that. So from that point, that's where my process of learning what I know today came from, because I would get in the studio and I didn't know how to count bars. So they knew. So they was cutting me at 8, 12, 16. I'm like, yo, I didn't want to end it right there. You know what I'm saying? But it forced me to learn how to structure records.
Yeah. And everybody starts like that, though. That's nobody really knows when they first start. Let's have somebody there to kind of teach them that. You know what I mean? So how did you, and I want to ask you this because of the LBC Crew and that song Beware My Crew being such a big record, still a classic to this day. I think people thought that LBC Crew meant Long Beach Crips, but it didn't mean that. It meant Long Beach City Crew.
Yeah, Long
Correct?
Beach City Crew, Long Beach Cali Crew, Long Beach, California Crew. You know what I mean? It was...
What I mean by that is that it wasn't a gangbang thing is what I'm trying to say. It was a rap thing, but it just, some people took it as, because they hear LBC, they think Long Beach Crips, right? So,
yeah, and I mean, it's Crips from Long Beach, so the Crips made it mean what they want.
What they want to do with it, for sure.
Yeah, they made
but that wasn't the name. That's what I mean. It was Long Beach Crew.
It was universal representation for the city.
How did you end up becoming that part of that group? How did you guys end up putting that group together?
That was a blessing again. My Uncle C style, Snoop Dogg, they was formulating Doggy Style Records, and that was one of those things that at the time we wasn't really. I can't say that I was conscious of it because I was just young, man. I just wanted to rap, but to know that they curated this crew out of the best out of the city. That's what Snoop whole thing was. Like, he knew who was spitting. They knew when it came down to it. Like, back then, it was really like Death Row was really like gladiator school. Like, you might have 10 of the so-called best rappers in the room when a beat come on. It's only 4 people gonna make it on this song. So everybody could go and spit a verse, but it's only a few. So I'm blessed to be then made a few of those cuts.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially being the shorty in the room. You know what I mean? So that was kind of how that came about. You know, for the record, I hated Beware of My Crew, bro.
Really?
Because I didn't like the redundance of the sample. Doom, 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 doom.
Really?
Doom, 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 doom. It drove me crazy.
Wow.
Like, as just, that was where my mind was. So, like, it was other songs like Blueberry that we did different that, you know, made it onto the Dogfather album and, you know, just different joints that I thought was, like, doper because I was still listening, you know. I wanted to do it with Daz and Corrupt them was doing. Like, I want those type of records. You know what I'm saying? But Dog knew something. He said, like, yo, a hit is a hit is a hit.
It
like,
is.
yo, like, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he was like, trust me, nah, this is the one right here. So then after I heard Nate Dogg bless it, Roger Troutman blessed the record.
Because Roger redid that for you guys, right?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
And he kills that too. He kills it.
Yeah.
Because it's over his beat, but he came in and talk boxed and did that. Somebody better pay, man. Like, Roger's amazing.
So it was a blessing, man. Like I said, like, I didn't even realize it. Like, I look back on it now and I didn't realize it back then. You know, I was young. I just wanted to rap.
Who was the LBC crew, though? Who was the group? Because I know the song has Trey D and it has
South Central.
She kills it, too, on that record. Right. But who was the actual LBC crew?
The actual LBC crew on paper was Techniec, Bad Azz, and L.B.C. style.
Okay, so it's you three.
Yeah, we were the LBC crew.
Wow. Rest in peace to Bad Azz, too.
Long live Bad Azz, man. And, you know, free Lil Style, man. You know, that, you know, I was blessed to, we were working on a record, album, you know, prior to his departure. So we got a nice vault. I was actually able to preview a record that we did on Patience of God season 2. So y'all, you know, everybody got to make sure that they go check that out.
Okay.
With myself, Bad Azz, and L.B.C. style.
Let me ask you about your relationship with Bad Azz, like, because both of you were young at the time when you got on. Like, how was your relationship with him? You guys were more the young guys, like.
Yeah, Bad Azz was my big bro.
Okay.
It was like, you know, and then he later on he called me his little big bro.
Okay.
Because I learned a lot from them dudes. You know, Bad Azz he was going after it. That relationship was really like a brother relationship. Like, he was like my big bro. We argued like brothers, you know what I mean? We disagreed. Bad Azz, you're not going to win that argument with Bad Azz. You know what I'm saying? He gonna take you to task on anything you saying to him.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's love. A lot of love. He always called me, like, throughout the years. He'd call, check up. What's up, Techniec? LBC Crew. What's going on? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
he was a great guy, man. I love Bad Azz. He just had a great personality and he just got along with everybody. He's just a really nice guy, man. Really, really rest in peace with him because he was a really good dude. We had a good conversations. I want to ask you also, Techniec, about, you know, I remember seeing Trey D when he first came out on the song with you. And you I don't know if it's a coincidence, but you've done a few songs with Trey D. Like, you've been on some features with. And he pops up as Techniec, Trey D, Techniec, you know what I mean? How was it at that time? Because I know Trey D was from a whole different hood, and you have like 2 different Long Beach hoods kind of working and doing amazing music. Right. How did that work for you guys, and how were you able to make that happen?
And you know what's beautiful that you say that, Julio, because what's overlooked a lot of times is the unity aspect of it. You know, my introduction of representing Long Beach was from a unified standpoint that wasn't really going on at the time. Like, even as we were embarking upon that mission, I was still going to school on the north side, being from the east side, having to, you know, really get my respect in that sense, and not, you know, it was friction there in certain aspects of it, you know, because of the politics that existed. But with the music, we were able to bring put a lot of that to the side and bring everybody together. And they were actually doing that before I arrived on the scene. You know, with the deuces and trays, everything that's coming out, big style being, you know, the 19s, the 20, like everything that was represented in the city was moving as a unit.
And doing like amazing records though. It's not even like just even the unity of it. It was like a unity, and wow, these guys are talented. Like it's crazy to see that.
So that was like that's one thing that I tip my hat to Doggy for, man, because he was able to curate the talent from that ground level, that raw talent, and bring us into a fold to where we can mold into actual artists. Again, I definitely want to speak on that unity, because that right there is what the West Coast has always been about. Like all of those names that I didn't realize that a lot of those old school names that I named, they represented different hoods, but it never came across. I don't think I even knew DJ Quick was a blood until, you know, later on down the line, because it was just that sound.
Music,
it was about the music. It was about the art and the collaborations with him and Easy and all of the, you know, everything that was going on back then. So man,
let me ask you about the LBC Crew. Did you guys work on an album? Did you guys have a body of work that we didn't hear, or what happened with the actual group?
I think once the first Death Row went down, it was a lot of stuff that was locked in the vaults that wind up getting leaked out later on. We were working on the Haven't You Heard album that eventually came out, and I'm loving that it's there. We were speaking earlier about the capsulated energy.
Yeah.
You can't duplicate the energy that was going on, that was in the air at that time. So when you listen to that record and you hear how raw it was, that was the L.B.C. Crew. That was like the L.B.C. Crew album, but it was like a compilation that was getting put together. So it was really just a compilation of everyone's talent. You hear Nate Dogg on there. You hear, Daz or Corrupt pop up on different records. You hear, L.C. style, Bad Azz, Techniques, and Trail, Snoop Dogg. You know what I mean? It was really like a real Long Beach thing.
Technique, why do you think like all the rappers from Long Beach seem to like be very stylish? Like Daz sounds like Daz, Trey D sounds like Trey D, Snoop sounds like Snoop, you sound like Technique.
Right.
Bad Azz had his, Domino, but it just seems like Long Beach has this. You guys are like on some rap shit, but where does that come from in Long Beach? The competitiveness like that, or who brought that to the game for you guys?
I would say, I know from my school that I came up in, it was blasphemous to get to come in on the mic sounding like somebody else. I remember Dogger said straight out, man, we already got one of them. We already got a Corrupt. We already got a Technique. We already got that. Wow. So it was like whatever lane you in, that's your lane. That's you. That's your fingerprint. That's your signature. You know what I'm saying? So I think it was a blessing to be, MC Cloth. Like I came up in a slightly different class than what Snoop and them came up. Their era was a little bit, removed from my era. And, even when you speak about like Domino, like his era was a little bit different. He was a fly dude, man.
Bro.
It was all about
dope,
just
bro.
being, like rap singing was like not heard of.
No, the way he did it was just amazing. I just think Long Beach in West Coast hip hop history has to be shown as like very versatile lyrically, and just style wise. Y'all just remind me of just everybody has their own style. Tech, I want to also ask you. You have had some great features. Like you have been around some big name features where you are in these songs with them, which I got to give you a lot of credit, because when you look at your discography, it's like you got songs with Tupac, you got songs with Daz, you got songs with Prodigy, you got songs with Trey D, you got songs with Snoop. You just got these songs all in everywhere. How does that feel? Because it's like you said, it's not easy to get on a song. They could just wipe your verse out and be like, nah, that ain't it. Or
I wish I had that answer, man. I could say it's a blessing. Sometimes it feel like I'm looking back. When I look back in the history, it's from a different vantage point. I had people who respected my pen, and not even realizing how valuable that was at the time. And when I look back in retrospect, like, damn, to be so young, like I used to kind of get offended. Like I'll be in the studio and guys are getting helped by these legends to write rhymes. I'm like, damn, throw me a bar, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you got it, Tech. You know what I'm saying? So that right there, it just, kind of made me work a little bit harder. I'm thankful that it was recognized and that those legendary pieces were building a foundation for me to go ahead and put together a Techniec record. Because I got a lot of slack about that throughout the years. Like, bro, why you never dropped a record?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I think that, timing is everything. You know what I'm saying? And there's no expiration date on God's time. And that's why I named my project Patience of God. Because one day it clicked. And I put my studio together, and I just went to work. I got at guys who had a passion for creating music, different producers like Straight, Els, Cole T, who's been like a childhood partner of mine. We used to do talent shows back in the day.
I love Cole T. He done an incredible drop for my radio show one day.
That's what's up.
Incredible.
Yeah, shout out to
Long
Cole
Beach.
T.
Yeah, I never forget that. He killed that, bro. He was so good. If you had to look back, who did somebody that you learned a lot from, like watching them work? Rappers, when they work with each other in rooms, they grab off each other because they're watching. You know what I mean? Who's somebody that just stands out like, damn, I learned a lot watching this guy. He's really, really dope.
Man, I can't name one. It's so many.
So many.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you've been around such greats.
And they all have their own different ways of going about it, their own approach to it. It was no school to teach what was being done.
Right.
There was really no wrong way of doing it. It was almost like the James Brown way of doing things when they was telling him to drop it on the 1 or the 2 or all that. He's like, do it sound good? Do it feel good? Well, hey, we gonna ride with that.
Right.
So
it's
everybody had their own style. I learned a lot from Mac 10 on how he structured like this. He really had the pad and was really, formulating his bars and writing it. It was like damn short, almost in story form. I can not only hear what you're saying, I see it. You're painting these pictures with words. Dogg is he's a different type of guy. You know what I mean? I don't know where he was pulling it from. He'd go in and just
and he's so
put it on record.
And he's so stylish. I mean, he's so stylish when it comes to the way he approaches records. He'll never do things the same. It's always something different and a different pattern and a different tone. And that's one good thing about Snoop. He's like an instrument. So he blends himself into the actual songs. I want to ask you this too, Techniec. You, from what I've noticed, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but you don't gangbang rap. Like your music is not about gangbanging, even though it's L.B.C. and people just have that impression like you're around all these street guys. But when I've always heard you rap, it's a street feeling of it. And you're explaining things, but it's not like a glorification or like a gangbang kind of L.B.C. cuz this, crip this, and you're not doing that. That's what I've noticed about your music. That's something that you chose not to do, or that's just not you, or
early on. I mean, I share with it, and this could touch, I'm quite sure a lot of the viewers and listeners. I came up right in the heart of the real hardcore gangbang 80s. I got family from every reputable set in the city.
Okay.
Literally, like blood family, and good friends and uncles and, just family. Like Long Beach is that close knit. So I could go on record with saying this, I was never going to pick a side other than where I was from. And that right there is also like being from the city, we would always be guilty by association. So it didn't matter whether I was from this hood or that hood or whatever. Oh, you from Long Beach?
Long Beach, yeah.
Oh, you this,
right?
Or you that. So if it's a problem that ever came, we just had to be men about it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh man, I don't do this. Nah, because I was raised by a man to be a man. So it was my upbringing was a little bit different. I learned to respect the tribes. You know what I'm saying? If I ever had an issue, it was mano y mano. It wasn't nothing that I could hide behind. It was like, nah, I gotta go outside. I gotta.
So you never were ever involved in gangs at all? You never claimed anything from Long Beach?
I don't think in my heart I was ever for the destruction or the of my people. Like if it was any issue I ever been in, it was a personal issue. Like you violated me as a human being. I got I got to stand on that. Well, at the end of the day, it's about respect.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just about respect. That's what the tribes I know they represent. It's all about respect. So you give respect. you get respect.
Right.
You know, and I've received more respect than disrespect.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I
for sure.
give respect.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
That's first and foremost. So yeah, that's where I stand. And then, you know, I came into, you know, some teachings that really helped solidify that by, you know, studying and following Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who's all about the unity of Black and Brown. So that's something that definitely got to be noted. That
Your FOI.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long you been with FOI?
Been blessed to be a little over 10 years now.
Oh wow.
It was something I was taught early on that I learned to get a great understanding of, and that's accept your own and be yourself. I think I heard Nip speak on that a while ago, where it was like, you know, when he went to go find their enemies, they was looking for somebody who looked just like them.
Yeah, it's true.
That's self-hate.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like, I don't even want to see nobody that look like me. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So with that, once I learn to accept my own and be myself, once I learn to love myself, then I could love anything that reminds me of self.
Right. Tech, I want to ask you also, one thing that I've noticed about you is that it seems like you're more chill, more quiet. You're not a out there loud, pay attention to me. Is that a proper assessment of it? You're more laid back. That's why we don't really hear that much of you.
Yeah, I think that's been a gift and a curse of mine, you know, throughout time. I got love for the sport. I feel like, you know, they hear me. They know what it is when it comes down to who Techniec is. So that's why I always, like, for me, it was more so let the art speak for itself. You know what I'm saying? It's not so much dope gonna sell itself. That's what they say, right? So that's kind of been my motto with it. But then it's like, yeah, you got to be present. And here we are.
Yeah. How did you, when did you decide, okay, I'm going to start just making my own records and I'm going to just go indie and just do my own thing and just.
There's a few factors in it, you know. One, I became a father young, and I wanted to be present in my children's lives. So that was something that sometimes conflicted with the industry aspect of it. For two, I remember hip hop from a standpoint where the streets dictated fashion. We dictated what went on in the industry. We dictated what was dope, the people. Then it got to a point to where for a check, they gonna tell us what's dope. They gonna tell us what to wear. I couldn't do it for that. You know, if you rocking with Techniec, you rocking with the LBC crew, you rocking with this West Coast thing of ours that you know many have sacrificed to put out here to the world for these timeless records and things of that nature, then I feel like, you know, if I could keep that part of it alive, then, you know, it's so many different ways to get $1 legally. You know what I'm saying? And we in a perfect time. It's a beautiful time and space for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, to put out music is a great time right now because you can actually put a project together and get it up and put it out there. Right. You know what I mean? That was very difficult in our time in the 90s. You know what I mean? Right. Just trying to get somebody to put you out and distribute something for you and put you some. It was very difficult. You know what I mean? So I'm glad to see there's rappers today that are taking advantage of, like, there's a great new time right now that you can really take advantage and do all those things that you did want to do.
Not to cut you off, but I respect the youngsters, the younger generations, newer generation that's doing what they want to do, man. You know, and they peers are recognizing it and they rocking with them. You know, it's some real talented guys out here, man. Too many to even list. You know, and they doing what they want to do because they've learned, you know, they're growing up learning how to use their tools. You know, so many tools that wasn't available to us 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? 30 years ago, however long we've been in this thing that now, I mean, look, we sitting on the Julio G podcast. You know what I'm saying? It's right here is a blessing. It ain't nothing dictating this. You know?
No
this
doubt.
was some communication and, you know, mutual respect, and here we are.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah,
I've always been a fan of yours, man. Believe it or not, it's like I listen to rappers and I just, like, you know, when I did the radio thing, it's like there's certain radio things that I got to deal with, but I still like hip hop, you know. And I listen to certain rappers. Like I said, I've always been a fan of yours. I know what you do. That's why when they asked me, somebody reached out to me, hey, you should get Techniec on your podcast. And I was like, that's crazy you said that because he's on my list. Yeah. You was already in my mind. Like, you know who I'd love to talk to is Techniec.
That's love.
You know, and it's not always about me always having the biggest rapper and I need to have the biggest rapper. It's not really about that. I just like to talk to certain people because I like what they've done in their music.
I used to consider myself a journalist to the streets.
Okay.
I used to like guys like Nas and Ice Cube, guys who could really paint a picture of, make you feel like you almost in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So those are the type of I mean, we all been influenced by a lot of this. These are, like I said, these are like mentors to me, bro. Like when it comes down to it, these were the guys that we were studying coming up, and to think like, damn, y'all had all of that, and it hasn't been duplicated to this day. Can't be and won't be.
I know.
You know, so if it's being recognized on my end just a little bit, I gotta give props to the forefathers for that, to be able to be being recognized in this space, because it's really the point of view. Like, this is how I see it, and I've just figured out a way to articulate it.
Right.
So it's not for everybody. It's for those who get it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when I hear guys like, Nipsey, long live bro, like when I seen him coming, I'm like, whoa, this guy was like standing right in the epicenter of everything that he was talking about.
Yeah.
And he was able to articulate it to the point where you damn near felt like you was right
like
there in
there.
the 60s.
Yeah, like you lived there, yeah, without even being there, yeah.
He was a journalist of sorts to his community.
Mm-hmm.
With Long Beach being such it's like a melting pot.
And Long Beach is big.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I will say. Long Beach is a big city.
Yeah.
You could be on one
really
side of it, and the
diverse.
whole other side of it. It's like a big city. It's not like Compton.
You go from one block to another, you're going to encounter all different walks of life, all different ethnicities, and you know what I'm saying? And you have to know how to maneuver and coexist amongst those and still be you.
Talk to me about Patience of God in this project that you got going on, because like I said, the last one you just put out, I thought it was amazing.
Appreciate it.
Lyrically, everything, and musically. I told you I liked it because it was 10 songs. It was short, to the point. I wanted to ask you, like, can you give me an explanation of, you had a part 1 or part 2? You have a series of this going on.
So I was inspired by this whole thing. Like, I sometimes I got downtime, I'll watch series. They got now on all these little platforms, they got series like where you watch a show and it's like one show leads into the next show, into the next. Like, before you know it, damn, I've been in here 5 hours watching one show.
Binging.
Yeah, binge watching. So, we used to do like volume 1, I was like, nah, let me go ahead and just do. I could put one big project together, put like 25, 30 songs on it, or I can give them episodes. So season 1, Patience of God. Season 2, Patience of God. And I mean, I have a number where I'm probably gonna wrap it up, but I can't give it out yet because we got so much material for it.
Right.
And it's a lot more to come from the Patience of God series. So patience, like, that's a big word. That's one that we throw around loosely, but do we really get into like what patience is? And what is the limitation on patience? When am I not? I'm done being patient. Or, you know what? I'll be patient.
How do you get through them parts, them moments? Because the music business can really test your patience, bro, like, and just make you want to give up. Because I know a lot of people that just gave up because they got so frustrated with it. And then there's people that keep making music and they don't let that slow them. What did you do, Techniec, to get through them times when you feel like, I want to get this thing up?
I kept making music, but I didn't release music. So that's the all my artists know what that is. It's just like a boxer. You might not see like, damn, it's been 3 years since your last fight, but it's like, you ain't been in the gym with this guy. He probably hitting harder than he ever did. It's faster than he ever been because he's been constantly training. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I look at the art form.
So you stay writing, you stay working on the craft, whether it comes out.
I go crazy without that. It's a part of, it's just like, what's up, Julio.
Yeah.
Like, it's when it's in you,
it's
in you.
You're hip hop. Yeah, it's hip hop.
It's in us, man. So with that, man, and not only that, man, when you get into the conversations that I've had, like I said, with guys that's not here, I'm gonna stay on the LBC Crew thing. I've sat, you know, many a days and nights chopping it up with Bad Azz. We talking about just the frustrations of the game and, you know, how we gonna meet and overcome these obstacles. You know what I'm saying? And then you constantly getting hit with different things. You know what I'm saying? The focus goes somewhere else. Somebody goes to jail, or right when you think this is about to, damn, someone dies. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when you look at it like that, it's like, damn, I'm still here, bro. And I remember these conversations. Nah, we got to keep pushing.
Yeah.
I'm still able-bodied. I'm still able to, man, come on, man.
Yeah.
We still got, and not only that, I got a responsibility to show the youngsters that it could be done. Because I ain't the last generation of guys that's going to go through the process of dealing with a crazy industry. Nah, just keep pushing, man.
How does it feel to work on just your own albums solo? You know, this is not like the crew, all your homies are in a room. It's you. It's you have to put it together from the artwork to the last thing, to the mastering, to the day it's released. How does that feel? A lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure?
You go through every phase with it, you know. I love it because then the final result is, damn, are they going to get it? Or, you know, is the people going to get, you know, where I was trying to go with this?
Yeah.
You know, will it be received by at least my, you know, my fan base? And who is my fan base? We're ever evolving. So now we talking about patience of God.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? You know, may God be patient with us all.
That's right, man. Well, check it out, man. Techniec in the house, of course. Thank you so much, Techniec. It's been a pleasure to have you, man.
Bro.
And congratulations with all the success and all the great records you have out there and the stuff that you're doing now. I want people to go check it out and definitely support Techniec. Anybody you want to shout out before we go, or just last information you want to give to anybody?
I want to shout out Julio G. Much success to the Westside Radio show and podcast, bro. I want to shout out everybody that was instrumental in bringing this project together. I want to shout out Young Bruh. I want to shout out Straight Beats. I want to shout out Cole Teasy. I want to shout out Corey Herring, Classic. I want to shout out Mike Stroh. I want to shout out the L.B.C. Crew. Long live the L.B.C. Crew. It's not over with. So, you know what I'm saying? We still doing what we do. And I want to shout out the West Coast, man.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, the West Coast is, like I said, this thing of ours. You know, sometimes it's, you know, it seems like it might be a wobbly wheel, but I think when everybody start doing what they supposed to do, that, you know, just stand up, man. That's where I'm at with it.
It gets back in order.
Up.
That's right, man.
Easy call.
Well, check it out, y'all. Julio G, Westside Radio, of course. Like I said, Techniec in the house. Make sure to get with his project. We're going to catch you on the next one. You know how it is.
What's up, y'all? This is the Thug Lord Tupac. Be sure to check out Westside Radio.